Alright, hey folks, I'm back and I'm going to be bringing you Game 3 of the Winners Bracket Final between Dignitas and TSM. Um, the winner of this game gets to march straight on to the Grand Final, and the loser has to play CLG for it, so obviously both teams are trying to avoid that. Really want to win this game. We don't have picks or bans or even a load screen for this game, so I'm just going to talk about the picks real quick here. Usual disclaimers show up. This is recorded footage of the official stream, so I don't control the camera. It may lag because there were like a million people watching it live. The number gets higher every time. I've done this intro like 3 times because I keep coughing or something, and then the first time I was saying there were like 100,000 people watching it live. The second time I said 400,000. Now there's a million. It'll just keep going up. Other than that, that's about it. Sorry it's taken me so long to get to Game 3. I know you have been waiting on the edges of your seats, but I've been kind of sick lately, so I didn't have a chance. Just to quickly talk over the teams, we have on Dignitas, Scarra on Anivia, IWDominate on Nocturne. Seen him play Nocturne before in this set. Locust on Taric, Voyboy on Lee Sin, and Imaqtpie on Kog'maw. And on TSM, we have Dyrus on Olaf, and that's pretty exciting. Chaox on Urgot, Xpecial on Janna, TheOddOne on Shyvana, and Reginald on Ryze. These are all heroes that these players are pretty confident on. I've seen them all play them a fair amount, and I like that they're falling back to their their standard strong heroes for a really important game. They're not trying anything experimental or weird. I like this setup as a team because it doesn't give TSM any particular theme. It gives them just a whole bunch of really solid damage that'll be sustained throughout a team fight. Obviously, all of these heroes get better the longer the team fight goes, and they all have ways of delaying it. Dignitas also seems to be going for a fairly similar plan. These heroes, with the exception really of Taric, get better the longer the fight goes because they tend to be heroes that deal consistent damage. Something like Kog'maw will just, he'll continue to hit you with his W. Now, if the fight goes so long that his W runs out, although that's very unlikely, then Kog'maw's effectiveness falls off a little bit. So obviously TSM are going to be trying to stall these fights out, and Dignitas are probably going to be trying to get a couple picks with like Taric stun into Nocturne ulti into an Anivia Ice Ball into Nocturne Fear and so on, and just do a whole bunch of single target damage to knock someone out of the fight really fast. Pretty standard item builds from both sides. We see Cloth 5 from the junglers, Boots Pots from all the laners, except the support. We do see a pink ward from Taric, so maybe we'll get to see where he places that if the casters are watching that. I'll keep an eye out for it on the minimap as well. And let's get right into this. Both teams moving out. Have to see if Dignitas goes for the double golems. At the moment, they're just looking to push out and take control. We do see, again, a CV from TSM, who seem to like running CV, so they do have a small disadvantage in terms of combat summoners in the lane. And though I hesitate to say this again because I was so wrong last time, I still think Janna Urgot is a lane that's well set up to beat Taric Kog'maw. Taric almost getting caught there. Oh, but the 3 of them all hit that ward at the same time and killed Taric's ward. That's actually huge. Really nice reactions there by TSM, all managing to get those attacks off. Knocking out that ward is really good early because it means that Taric is not going to have enough wards to really protect that bottom lane, and he certainly won't be able to spend wards on things like getting vision here, which is a common one that you want. As you can see, TSM have placed their ward on the similar spot on the opposite side. Just gonna take a quick drink of tea here. I noticed in the last casts that the spoon was very audible in my tea jar. You could hear it going clink. So I have cleverly removed it. It requires massive brain power to think of plans like that, let me tell you, but I've got you guys covered. Looks like Dignitas knows that TSM is planning this steal. Reginald attacked a little early. They should definitely have waited on that one. If they'd waited until Dominate got a little lower, they'd have managed to get that kill on Nocturne, but Reginald auto-attacked out of the brush. I don't know if that was intentional or if it was a misclick, but I suspect a misclick. He didn't hold position. Caster's pointing out that TheOddOne did not use Smite on the Lizard, so that means he's probably planning to gank top and then run to Dominate's blue buff, but he will find that Nocturne has already done it because he left the red buff immediately. So yeah, TheOddOne is going to be pretty disappointed when he gets to that golem and finds it down after having saved Smite and everything. He might be able to put some pressure on Dominate here, but no, I don't think so. CV going down from Xpecial just a little late, making TheOddOne waste a bunch of time. Lee Sin, I think, is going to be pretty strong against Olaf, and as I talked about again in a previous cast, watch this gank go down. I don't think they'll get Voyboy here. Oh, maybe. Yeah, alright. Alright, TheOddOne had another, had his nuke up a little faster than I expected there. So that's huge, obviously. That's an enormous boon for TSM. Getting that early kill, putting Dyrus ahead. Olaf is a hero that snowballs ahead in lane really fast. If you get him even a slight advantage, then he becomes really hard to deal with, because as he levels his nuke, it's true damage, so you can't even itemize against it, and it will just beat the crap out of you if he's over leveled. Dyrus also doing the smart thing here and using that gold to go purchase items. Getting Shyvana an early kill is not the greatest, because Shyvana, even though like she's good with items, she's okay with items, but it's not the same as having an Olaf with items, or even a jungler like a Nocturne who is actually a carry. Shyvana's more of a farm stealing champion who's going to get farmed regardless, so the early kill is not as important on Shyvana. Since she clears the jungle so fast, she's just going to have more gold than most junglers most of the time. Actually see Dyrus getting bullied around here just a little bit, despite that advantage. This style of Lee Sin play where you safeguard to the creeps and then hit them is very difficult to deal with. Big fight going on bot. Yeah, Chaox is able to get out because of a Janna shield. Both sides looking pretty beat up. That's going to favor the Taric Kog'maw lane, although TheOddOne could come in for a gank since they're pushed up so far. I'm actually surprised that he's not, although it's hard to get kills on Shyvana without red buff. And he doesn't have exhaust. That's actually really interesting. I hadn't noticed that before, but he's running flash smite. Almost always you see Shyvana running exhaust smite, because otherwise it's very hard for her to get kills. That makes that gank up top even more impressive, actually, that they did it without using a Shyvana exhaust. Just more trading damage bottom lane. Still going to be better for Dignitas to do that. And see that they're actually falling behind a little bit in CS, mostly because they're focusing so hard on pushing them around, but I think they'll start to make up that gap if they continue to trade damage, as Taric can heal and Janna cannot, of course. Both sides completely out of potions. Also see that Ryze has backed and picked up his tier, and is slightly up CS on Anivia, although not super significantly. Shyvana waiting up top, maybe going to get a gank on And Olaf actually only 3 CS up, 2 CS up on Lee Sin. We do see OddOne coming in for a gank, but it just doesn't matter. I mean, with no stun or real slow, Shyvana can't really stop it. Voyboy from even getting experience. As you see, he actually got experience for almost all of those creeps. He missed 1 creep worth of experience for OddOne spending that whole time top lane. And Shyvana stole experience from 3 creeps for Dyrus. So that actually, that whole gank just put TSM further behind. And that's one of the problems with Shyvana, especially without exhaust, is that it's very hard to actually like force a fight. If people fight you, you're very, very strong. But if they don't want to fight you, you don't really have a way of making them, especially pre-6. We're seeing that Kog'maw has in fact caught up to Urgot a bunch. So CS is actually pretty much dead even across the board, although Nocturne, who's been spending less time ganking, is actually up 10 on Shyvana. So just a slight gold advantage for TSM because of that first blood. But so far this game, very, very even. The fact that Scarra was able to survive for so long with no blue buff against Ryze, who had a blue buff, is going to be huge, because now Scarra is going to have a blue buff during the more important or the more deadly levels 8 through 9 after Ryze's has just run out. And this is going to enable Anivia to get a pretty huge advantage in the lane. Anivia can push much harder than Ryze, obviously, so she's just going to push to tower a whole bunch, force Ryze out of lane. We actually see OddOne camping up here for another gank, and Voyboy goes on him. Exhaust coming in from Dyrus. But Reginald is up here as well, and they should get him with that ignite, yeah. And this time the kill does go to a more important hero, because getting Ryze a kill. But, as we can see, Dignitas is using this time to pick up a free dragon, because there's 3 top, which is why ganking top is so difficult in an organized team game. Taric will not die to the burn clutch heal at the last second to save his own life. But that's one of the problems inherent to ganking top in an organized 5s game. The teams will just rush dragon when you have 2 or 3 top. And so a free dragon for Dignitas makes that gank top probably not even worth it. We have a push coming mid from Reginald and OddOne. I like this decision here. They know that Dignitas is going to be back for at least another 10 seconds or so they can clear this wave and do a lot of damage, and then maybe make another gank happen. And it looks like that's what they're going to do. They're going to try to roam to blue buff and then come at from behind tower and kill Voyboy. There's no wards top at all for Dignitas, so Voyboy is just super dead here. I would be very surprised if he escapes, even with his teammates coming. Nice kick away, but it's totally futile. It just doesn't matter. Nocturne couldn't even get there to ult in, and if he had, he'd have just died. But he wasn't quite in range anyways. Surprised, actually, that we haven't seen Nocturne gank with his ultimate. Usually you want to use that fairly aggressively when you get it at 6, because it's usually worth a kill. So, as I predicted, Scarra going up a small amount of CS mid lane, although Ryze's 2 kills pretty much make up for that quite handily. Now that both sides have had a chance to buy, Urgot is pulling back ahead of Kog'maw in CS. And I think that that's just because Taric Kog'maw is not the most synergistic lane, whereas Janna Urgot is incredibly synergistic because Janna's damage buff increases Urgot's awesome damage from his Qs. So all in all, slight advantage to TSM because they're ahead mid lane by virtue of Ryze's kills from roaming. They're ahead bottom lane, and they are quite ahead top lane because of, you know, killing Lee Sin 3 times. Dyrus has been able to pick up a bunch of kills there. Looks like Chaox is actually in a lot of trouble, has to flash out from that. PewDiePie could, in fact, still kill him if he... I think he could have walked up and just auto-attacked the Urgot and then killed him with his ultimate while backing out of tower range. It would have been close, but he could certainly have sent Chaox healing. I'm actually surprised that he didn't play that more aggressively, especially with Nocturne there to back him up. Voyboy is in a lot of trouble. It's very difficult for him since he's been 3-man ganked twice, and also ganked by Shyvana with red buff for first blood. Dyrus playing surprisingly cautiously given that TheOddOne is right there. I would definitely have expected him to be pushing in more aggressively. I like Voyboy's dance there. But I suspect that he's going to die again, even through that ward, so he knows Shyvana's there, and he's sticking around, but they're going to be 3 top again. I feel like they could definitely have just done that, but it looks like they're wanting to steal blue. So if they have a good timer on this blue, they should be able to pick it up. Ryze needs to get there, though. He needs to move around quickly, or this 3v3 fight is not going to be possible. Not sure if they can successfully steal this, and neither are they. They're being very hesitant. They do know that both the bottom lane heroes are bottom lane, so we get a huge jump onto Dominate and burst him down instantly. Just the true damage from Olaf plus the mad nuking power from Ryze. They do pick up the blue buff onto Ryze, which is perfect, and chase Scarra away. PewDiePie and Locust meanwhile balls deep under this tower, and Chaox is certainly going to go down to that, but so does PewDiePie, so I don't know if that was worth it. I feel like they could have got that without all of the suiciding. He probably wanted to explode on those creeps also and get the gold for it, although maybe he wants to feed the gold to Taric. I'm unsure why he didn't take at least the 2 minion kills he could certainly have gotten with his passive. It's usually and if Locust is backing, then they're just going to lose CS, because now Janna can push it into the turret. It's usually your sort of consolation booby prize when you die as Kog'maw, is you get to pick up like 2 more CS with your passive. Xpecial running in for another last hit there, which actually is probably important. Yeah, I bet that last hit was what made the difference between having those boots and not having those boots. So now he's at 2 gold per 5 to Taric's 1 gold per 5. Still not buying pink wards. It's actually Shyvana buying pink wards, which I like because Shyvana doesn't need a ton of gold, and tends to get a ton of gold. Should probably pick up an oracles fairly soon on Shyvana as well. They actually pink ward the dragon, which just came up. Both top lanes are still top, but a huge fight going down. Scarra being forced to wall off, so TSM should be able to pick this up with Dignitas still split. They still have all of their stuff, and they knock down the ward. Locust taking a lot of damage, but Chaox just dies instantly. Locust still not going down. Janna ult did not enough to save Reginald, and it looks like TSM went too far in that fight, and they're going to get decimated picking them off. Xpecial just barely clearing that wall before it goes down and escaping. So 2 kills. TSM did get the dragon, but 2 kills is pretty tough for that. Voyboy jumping right onto TheOddOne, who immediately jumps out, pulling Voyboy pretty deep, but they're going to be able to pick up this turret here, which makes the dragon from TSM obviously a lot less worth it. Losing mid-turret is pretty bad. I would usually rather have a dragon than a turret, but mid-turret is especially important because it gives you a lot of map control over dragon, and they will need to knock down Dignitas' mid turret if they want to continue having map control. Both teams being very good about placing wards. There's a lot of, as you can see, there's a ton of wards sort of all down the river. It's going to be very hard to get into the enemy jungle without them knowing, just because there's a solid wall of vision all across. It's actually pretty funny how they're also just alternating wards. It's like Christmas lights. No major items finished for either team. Both teams have a whole bunch of components. Olaf is almost done Frozen Mallet. He's got some Doran Blades and Tabby. Looks like Ryze is... I'm actually not sure which of them is going to go Frozen Heart, or maybe both. Whether Ryze or Urgot will get it. Both heroes really like Frozen Heart, so we'll have to see about that. It looks like Ryze has got the components for Frozen Heart, but Urgot already has a Glacial Shroud, so who knows. A bunch of Wriggles, small, you know, because Kog'maw got a Wriggles, there's more free wards for Dignitas than there are. Nice ult in, good bait on that fight from Locust, and that's going to give Chaox a third death here, and they should get Xpecial too. Yeah, they spent an exhaust on it, but that will just ensure the kill. They probably could have gotten that kill without the exhaust, but just throwing it down to make sure Janna couldn't miracle out of it, which Jannas are known to do. They definitely should be taking this turret because they're sort of losing the laning phase. Despite Urgot having 3 deaths, he still was CSing a little better than Kog'maw, although Kog'maw, having nuked down 2 waves just there, pulled significantly ahead. So it's good for them to kill the turret, because then they get to roam and put Kog'Maw's, you know, get Kog'Maw into fights and force Urgot not to take, you know, force the laning phase to end. Ryze getting to Steel Blue, so really nice buff control. That's what Shyvana gives you, of course, is control over the enemy's buffs. But having all the blue buffs, Anivia is an extremely mana-hungry champion, so denying her blue buffs is really important. With both teams' mid-turrets down, things are pretty dangerous, especially for the mid laners who want to farm. Chaox pushing out the lane. I'm actually surprised. I feel like because their top is so strong, what he wants to do is freeze the lane and just farm for a long time while they sort of play 4v5 elsewhere on the map, but it doesn't matter because their other heroes are so strong. And that way Urgot could get back into it. We do see an Oracles be purchased and popped on Shyvana, so I like that decision. There's a lot of wards around this game. They should be able to pick up that ward there if they check the brush. Yes, they do. Oh, it takes a second to spot a ward when you're walking through it. A lot of people who pick up Oracles like to attack move so that they'll knock down the wards, but that's actually really dangerous because if an enemy shows up, huge fight going down. I'll finish talking about that later. We have a massive burst down onto Scarra. They should just focus down that egg. Once you egg Anivia, it's really important to finish her off before the egg pops. Kill onto Chaox and a flash over the wall, and this fight is going to go solidly for Dignitas. Really nice flash over the wall there. That's a big game when that happens, when you're focusing someone really important and they get to flash over and still be useful and also invincible. Xpecial doing work here, running down to delay Dignitas as long as possible. If he'd been able to get a little further, like past their turret, he could have prevented them from capitalizing on this at all. As it was, I think he prevented them from doing Baron, which they might have been able to do as 3, since there was a Kog'Maw and a Lee Sin. That was a beautiful play by Cutie-Pie flashing over the wall, because TSM had gotten themselves so deep on going after Kog'Maw that when they couldn't get him, a little bit of stream lag there, that when they couldn't get him they were just in an awful position. And they also needed to They spent a lot of damage there, unfortunately, on Dominate and Voyboy, which they really should not have. It should have been Scarra and Cutie-Pie. They got Scarra very quickly, and they did do the correct thing of knocking down that egg. Breaking the egg is really important in team fights, because even though it's not hitting you right now, and is sort of, it's like a 4-second stun on Anivia, basically. I think it's 4 seconds. I can't actually remember the exact distance. Someone will have to correct me in the comments if that's incorrect. We're getting another big fight with everyone's ultimates down this time, although there do seem to be some summoners up. They really need to focus Scarra again. Anivia has no egg. Looks like they should be able to take out Kog'Maw. We've got Lee Sin not able to do quite enough damage to be really important in that fight. Beautiful ult by Xpecial to sort of disengage everything. They should kill that Taric, yeah, and then they need to focus down Nocturne and so on. Lee Sin, unfortunately, is not putting out enough damage to be a huge threat, so TSM is able to just ignore him. He does manage to pick up Dyrus, which is pretty important, because again, that Voyboy's kill there probably prevented TSM from being able to do Baron. Really important that they don't give up too much there. I like that decision by TSM to immediately re-engage in that fight, knowing that everything is down. Obviously, neither team is particularly reliant on like hugely important ultimates. There's no Amumu's or Morganas or anything on the team. But without Nocturne being able to jump to people, and without without Kog'Maw's flash up, which was the huge one in that fight because they were able to knock Cutie-Pie down pretty fast, they knew they had a pretty favorable fight there. Obviously, with Olaf as your top lane, it behooves you to fight a battle that's as immobile as possible. You want everyone to stay very close together and not move, which is why it's good to fight when everyone's flashes are down. Does look like Dignitas is going to pick up this dragon for free. I don't think TSM can contest this. Voyboy not jumping onto Xpecial there. You actually saw Xpecial dodge back into that queue because he was hoping to bait out the jump. They weren't able to bring down the dragon fast enough, and Locust is now trapped. I'm not sure about that. I feel like they definitely could have killed the dragon quickly. Nocturne jumping in, Cutie-Pie being out in front, but no one being able to focus him down. Reginald taking a ton of damage there from Kog'Maw, and it looks like this is going to be another convincing battle won for Dignitas. Not for Dignitas, for TSM, as they, I can't talk, sorry guys, as they're able to pick off Cutie-Pie yet again, fighting just before his flash came up. As you can see, is just off cooldown now. I really am not sure about that decision. They got themselves into a weird spot. And then they focused Ryze, who has a frozen heart and is very, very tanky. Obviously, he's a big source of damage too, but and if you see, the ones who are dead are Ryze and Olaf, which means that they hit two of the most difficult to kill champions on TSM. Now, one thing that's true about TSM's lineup is that IWDominate on their lineup is difficult to kill. Even Janna is squishy, but obviously focusing Janna is a terrible idea because she has so many ways to knock you around and prevent you from killing her and just run away. So it's actually very difficult for Dignitas to get good focus in these team fights because no matter who they hit, it's going to take them a long time to bring them down. Once again, Cutie-Pie being just the linchpin that has to hold this team together because he's the one who can break down through all these tanky teams. I expect Kog'Maw was picked pretty late in the picking phase here as a counter to all these very tanky champions that TSM picked up. No Oracle for either side right now because TheOddOne died recently. I expect he's gone back to buy one now. No. Or Xpecial is, maybe. Someone on both sides should probably pick up an Oracles. But it looks like Janna wanted that Kindle Gem for Australia's first. can't disagree with that. Shurelya's is really important, especially because it looks like Taric is going to get one pretty soon too, since he has his Kindle Gem. Janna's up a full Aegis on Taric, though, which is obviously, that's a pretty big deal. Chaox has picked up a Guardian Angel, so they're just taking this theme of unkillability to the next level. And again, everything rides on Kog'maw for Dignitas. Anivia also not going the most damage-heavy build, going a more sustained, long fight build with Spell Vamp and Rod of Ages and Chalice. I really think both teams should be looking to pick up an Oracles here. Yeah, and you see TheOddOne just bought one, actually. I think it's going to be pretty important to contesting this Baron, because this is going to come down to controlling this area and clearing those wards. So, as the casters are pointing out by switching to Team Vision, so it's pretty clear that the key here is going to be getting vision into that brush right there, which currently Dignitas holds a ward there, but TSM is just able to go clear it now. I suspect they're going to drop a ward. Yeah, they do. I'm actually surprised that they dropped that ward instead of that ward, because usually you want the vision to be a little further down. Especially because they already have that brush warded, so they're getting those two wards are overlapping. They actually have 4 wards in this tiny little area of the map, which just shows you how important getting vision over that Baron is right now. Whichever team can control the Baron is gonna take this game almost certainly, so both teams are gonna jockey for it pretty hard. Everything is up, but most importantly, heal and flash on Imaqtpie, which I think are just the most important cooldowns in the game right now. We have Voyboy dashing to that ward and trying to get a kick off onto TheOddOne. I think even if he'd hit that kick, he definitely shouldn't have followed up on it. So, probably good that he missed it, but never hurts to get that harassment down. TSM actually warding the middle of the lane there, which I really like, because it showed them things like Imaqtpie heading down to take this red, which they could maybe have taken advantage of, but by pushing or making a play on the Baron or something, but they're taking advantage of that to go clear side lanes, which is a really good move and more important. Both teams needed to split up to do buffs and clear side lanes and stuff, so they sort of have a mutual truce while that happens. Actually should probably try, if possible, to push this one more wave. Because Ryze's cooldowns are already so low, he doesn't need the blue buff, so they're giving it to Dyrus. Getting more of his ease off and axes thrown is really important. Olaf is weird in that he's an auto attack melee carry, but he's also kind of a spellcaster, because he has 2 really strong nukes. One of which is AoE and one of which is true damage, so you really want him throwing those out as much as possible. Clearing more wards by TSM, but all of Dignitas is here to pick off this this golem buff, and Scarra does manage to last hit it despite Xpecial's valiant attempt to get it with the tornado. Nice poison there by Chaox to get the homing damage on. If you can land that, it's always nice, although he does spread out his missiles a little much, so it doesn't actually get anyone particularly low. Pink ward there from Dignitas, which is, I really think they should just buy an Oracles already. They've just spent so much on pink wards. Taric has bought I haven't been counting exactly, but I've seen at least 5 placed, which is a lot of gold. more setting up and positioning. The longer this goes, the more TSM gets a little bit ahead, because Dignitas cannot afford, while TSM has an Oracles and they don't, to move everyone really far away, because they're never going to have perfect vision on the Baron the way TSM does right now. Now, I don't know about this. They're trying immediately for the Baron, but all of TSM is in the neighborhood, and it looks like we're going to get a huge engagement. Nice wall to delay. They might pick up the Baron. Yeah, they do pick up the Baron just as the fight starts, and that's going to be big, but a lot of their cooldowns are down. Need to jump directly onto Cutie-Pie there. He's actually getting to stay in the back and fight a bunch. Nocturne getting too far out thanks to a really nice Janna ult splitting them in half. And with Xpecial breaking that team fight in half, big plays from him. TSM are able to pick off Nocturne and Taric, and now they're going to be able to push down middle lane. That fight was all Xpecial, just that really nice Janna ult placed perfectly. It's going to get them at least 2 turrets here. They did give up the Baron, but 2 kills and 2 turrets for the Baron is totally worth it for TSM. They're going to come out way ahead on this exchange. They actually decide not to take mid turret. I'm not sure why. I think they could have, but they're going to take Dragon instead. I think they could have done all 3, gotten mid turret and bot turret and Dragon. But they're playing it safe, which I certainly cannot fault. We're seeing a Phage, interestingly, finished on Urgot. Ryze has finished his 2 main items, the Frozen Heart and the Banshee Veil, and he's going to be getting Spell Vamp next, which I like. Having a Will on this team will be pretty good for it. Janna not opting to finish Shurelya's yet, getting cooldown boots instead. We see no major item upgrade. Okay, there we go. The Hex Drinker on Olaf now, so he's going to be able to build into the new, the Maw, I think it's called. I can never remember that item's name. And Urgot going a sort of bizarre build, but I like it for where they are right now. He needs to just survive Kog'Maw's focus, and the Phage will be pretty helpful in keeping people next to him. Just the more slows they get. Voyboy being a little aggressive on TheOddOne, but it's a Shyvana. It's not like he's going to do anything to her. So TheOddOne just backs off. Dignitas should be able to fight here. There's 2 wards from TSM right next to each other. I wonder if one of them's about to expire, or if that was for vision in a fight or something, or just a mistake. More buff control from TSM, because they knew Dignitas was all top. Dyrus is able to sneak in and pick that red off. That's going to be pretty important. He does already have a slow, of course, but having the red buff is really nice. Phantom Dancer iEdge finished on Cutie-Pie. Has not had time to get a Last Whisper or a Quicksilver, both of which he would really like to have right about now. It's sort of the difficulty with going the Wriggles build is that you end up delayed on your 3rd item. It doesn't hurt you that much when you're working up to your damage items, because Wriggles is a pretty good damage item in and of itself. But Wriggles is not as good at this point in the game as a Last Whisper or something similar would be. And Mallet Atmas for Lee Sin. Shurelya's finished for Dignitas. I feel like Dignitas could force a fight here. 3 of them do have Baron buff, and they have a Shurelya's. And Shurelya's is a big advantage in fight initiation. Scarra throwing out a pretty optimistic ice ball there. I don't think there was any way that was going to hit someone. Unless they, like, dodged into it by accident. But I definitely think Dignitas should have tried to make a play while they had the Baron buff. Because it's running out or has already run out, and now they're just behind by a bunch. Just much worse items. Yeah, it's already run out. Actually seeing a Zeke's being picked up by Janna instead of a Shrelia's. I guess TSM feel like they just don't need the initiation, they're just gonna march slowly in, which I can't fault them for, they have a team designed to march slowly in. Though Shrelia's is just such a good team item that I'm surprised that that they wouldn't pick it up. You often see teams getting like 2 or 3. Top turret getting picked off by Dignitas, but now Kog'Maw is out of position, so they're going to take a lot of damage on this turret before he gets back into actually not that much damage. And they do knock down Ryze's Banshees, so that's pretty important. It's always nice when you can get that down with a not that important skill, so nice play by Dominate there, knocking down the Banshees Veil. 45 seconds is a long time to wait for that spell shield to come back. A little bit of lagging again, but that's okay. I like to think of lag as an opportunity to do frame-by-frame commentary during the team fights. Oh, football announcer style. Dyrus gonna pick up this red buff. This game going quite a bit longer than the last two. Both teams being very careful. Neither team wants to make a mistake and get knocked down to the losers bracket. Obviously, jumping up to the grand finals pretty important, and both teams want to make sure they play very carefully and just get there. I feel like Dignitas should probably be taking some risks here because they're losing. They're not losing by a lot, but they are down. Kog'Maw's going for Last Whisper next, which I like that decision, given that there's Frozen Heart and a Guardian Angel and an Atma's Impaler and an Aegis and Tabby on the other team. You know, Wriggle's Tabby. Everyone has at least 150 armor on TSM, so that Last Whisper is going to be pretty important. They really need to give Kog'Maw all of this farm. I actually think that that Scarra took that cannon creep. But yeah, they need to give Cutie Pie all of this farm, because if he doesn't get a Last Whisper before the next fight, it's going to be trouble. And it looks like he's not going to have it. They throw down another pink ward. I'm actually not sure if that's quite in range of the ward at the back of the Baron Pit. Obviously, once Dyrus gets here, TSM would love it if Dignitas went in to kill that ward, but I don't think it is quite in range. Bunch of pushing down mid lane. I kind of like that idea, but they just got spotted by creeps. If TSM had been pushing too far ahead, then they could have gone for a sick ambush fight. I'm not sure how well that would have turned out for them, because it's not like they have huge AoEs that really benefit from those kinds of awesome ambushes. The fight's going to be more or less the same, regardless of how TSM is positioned. They just need to have good focus and make sure that TSM doesn't get to focus their important heroes. Voyboy, unfortunately, getting caught out here. He does get to dash away, but takes a lot of damage beforehand. Urgot trying to zone Kog'Maw, and does. And since they got stuck onto Urgot there, who has the GA, they were able to pick off Nocturne and then Taric on his way out. So really nice play there by Reginald with the flash binding on Voyboy. Good instinct for this is when we need to fight, even though he had to blow his cooldowns on a very tanky and difficult to kill enemy hero. Picking up the Baron buff for TSM, so that looks like they're going to be able to push at least an inhibitor here, I suspect. 20 seconds on Nocturne. They're taking the blue buff. I don't know if Reginald should have spent his time taking the blue buff, but it will help probably because they still have 8 seconds to push this down before Taric gets back up, and 10 seconds before Nocturne, so they will knock down this inhib turret, they will take the inhibitor, and then they should be able to take at least top turret, probably, if they want it, or dragon. Their own blue is also up, which I suspect they'll give to Dyrus again. Yeah, it looks like they're going to grab dragon here. And then they will probably push out top lane and come in to knock down that turret. Usually you want to try to pick off outer turrets with these Baron buffs. Okay, they're good. They are getting the dragon. I was going to be pretty surprised if they had just left it there. And the blue buff as well. Okay. Alright. The world makes sense again. Looked for a moment like they were just going to walk right past the dragon and the buff. Reginald getting to clear top, which is pretty important for TSM. They might get top pushing, and then make a push bot, and then transition top when the creeps get there. That's definitely one thing they could do. They could also push in mid and then transition to the bottom turret, although it looks to me on the map like Dignitas' bot creeps are pushing. Looks like Dignitas is trying for a very, very sneaky strategy again. This time they can't be seen by creeps because they've got the brush hiding them. But it looks like it's not going to work because TSM are just not going to push top. They're just going to push in mid. So yeah, all of Dignitas is backing up. No vision at all on the map for Dignitas. They can't see anything. And it looks like with Chaox tanking with the Janna shield and his native shield, they're just going to knock down this turret before the fight starts. No, TheOddOne getting a little caught out by that wall, but not enough to matter. Doesn't seriously inconvenience them. Clearing this wave and then knocking down the other wave is going to get the creeps in range to push this turret down, which they should be able to do without too much trouble. It is very difficult to push against Anivia, but Scarra does not have a blue buff right now because both blue buffs are on TSM. Having double blue buff is really just such a big game, and it's always hard to deal with. And even those two range creeps that Scarra doesn't quite have the mana to afford knocking down. Chaox getting kept out though, so it's going to be hard for him to... I mean, he's the only one who can really kill those turrets for them. But with the flash swap on Imaqtpie flashes back out, but even with the heal, it's just not enough. Scarra getting egged, and this is going to be game. Once they kill Scarra, they're getting... yeah, they'll just thrown here. And that is a huge flash swap from Chaox to end the game. Really nice plays. Just really... excellent initiation and well-positioned team fights from TSM won them that game, as well as getting a whole bunch of pretty significant laning advantages, forcing Dignitas to do kind of desperate things to catch back up. So yeah, that's it. TSM is going on to the grand finals. Dignitas is falling down to the losers bracket finals, where they're going to play CLG to see who takes on TSM for the championship of IPL4. I realized that this all happened a week ago, but we're casting this in real time, guys. And I'm not going to cover the losers bracket final, but I will be back with the grand final, and we're going to watch Team Solo Mid duke it out with either CLG or Dignitas, depending on who can make it back up out of the ranks. And I will catch you then. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe to my channel. Let me know what you thought. If you have any special requests as to the commentary style of the grand final, do you prefer me to be a little more play-by-play, a little more analysis? Should I focus more on item builds? Should I look more at the minimap and less at what the casters are looking at any given time? Should I go off on ridiculous tangents about whatever happens to strike my fancy, let me know. This is as much a process for me as it is for you watching it. So, yeah. Anyways, cheers and GG.